Fishing the Wild West is brought to you by Prairie Toyota.
Fishing the Wild West. When work is poison, the antidote.
Tracker
to spend
boats.
10 hours on this fishing boat. No cell phone service and no lawn to mow. What matters
Bass
most
Pro
is that
Shops.
I'm all alone. Living a dream, fishing the stream. Fishing the stream, living a dream. Living a dream, fishing the streams.
Along with
Fishing the Wild West.
Welcome to another episode of Fishing the Wild West TV. We're in Winnipeg, Manitoba at Alliance Marine and Sport with Dalton. Dalton's been kind enough to lend us a new Target tracker. You saved us a 15, 17-hour trip across the prairies, and we're going fishing Lake of the Woods. But whether you're near or far, stop in and see Dalton and pick out the tracker of your choice. So we're out here with the founders and owners of Wild Guide magazine. We're on Lake of the Woods. This is one of my bucket list trips that I've always wanted to fish this lake. World-renowned lake throughout North America. Don't even know how many species are in this lake. We were talking when we were coming up here that easily catch 12 different fish species. We've been on the lake for roughly an hour and we've caught three already. Walleye, sauger, and northern pike that Brad just landed. And the boat beside us with Brad's brother caught a smallmouth bass, which we're gonna do a little later tomorrow. And it's just a beautiful wilderness lake. Thousands of islands that we've come through. I don't even know where we are right now, but we're at one of the many islands jigging walleye. So walleye is one of my favorite fish to catch, and we can keep 4 here. We're gonna go back to Brad's mom and dad's tonight in Kenora, Ontario, which is somewhere that way, and have a fish fry. We just need to catch a couple more. There he was, he come back, he missed it the first time.
A little better?
Yeah, he feels a little better. He hit it hard the first time. Tony saw him from the other boat, and then he come right back to it. I dropped it back down to him.
That's a real nice one. Like that.
Oh, man, that's nerve-wracking when you're reaching for him yourself. I just got a box of these Big Sky jigs just the day before we left. And they're working really well. They're hammering some walleye here. It's really nice. This is probably the average of what we've been catching, eh, Brad?
Yeah.
And just coming by this stump. Whatever's underneath us, this stump is the key. So he's a nice walleye. He missed it on the way down. I picked it back up to him and he took it again. Another nice walleye. Thanks, Brad.
You got it.
And just on the stinger hook.
The stinger
I'm a
wins
big,
again.
big believer in the stinger hook.
Can't argue with results, right?
And these Big Sky jigs are working great. And I could have, pulled that out of his mouth, but the only thing he's got is the stinger hook.
Nice, Molly. Look at that.
Oh, wow. This bass fishing's not so hard while you're jigging for walleye.
Hey, that's actually not
perfect.
There you go.
He hit it hard too.
Yeah. No, they always do.
Wow, I can put my fingers in the mouth of this fish.
Look at that big sow belly she's got.
Wow, that's not so bad. Bass fisherman. It's got nothing on walleye fishing.
It's the fight. It's the fight.
Boy, he hit it hard. They're strong.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna get a couple pictures of them before I let them go.
And that's a small one too. Wait till you're...
This is just the first evening. We just landed in Winnipeg this morning. The guys picked us up at the airport, and we're gonna be doing multiple species starting tomorrow. Bass and pike, walleye, crappie, the whole. Well, you're gonna show us. So you tell us what we're gonna be catching.
Well, we're gonna try to just show you guys a wide variety of what Lake of the Woods has to offer. You know, try to get you guys on some crappies and bass, northern. You know, you were saying you might want to try going for some big northerns. We'll see how we can fare with that. And it's too bad muskie fishing isn't in season, but that there is that.
Well, that gives us an excuse to come back.
It would. Yeah.
Hold your horses. We'll be right back. Closed captioning is brought to you by Sandy Point Resort.
So we're out here catching crappie. I'm with Tony, owner of Wild Guide magazine. But you may see that we don't have the ultralight gear and 100% crappie rods and line. We're using heavy, I got braided line on. But we're going from this spot, and actually fishing these crappie in this spot, we got a potential of some big northern pike, bass, smallmouth bass, and even walleye. So got to be ready for anything as when you're catching or fishing for any species here on Lake of the Woods. But right from here, we're going to go into some back bays and we're going to cast some Len Thompsons for northern pike. So we're using the same rods and reels, so really all we have to do is change hooks and keep fishing.
One fish after the other. We ran out of minnows. We switched to live bait. We switched to plastics. And
there's a better one.
There's a nice one.
They're all beauties. Like I said, Tony, I truly believe that panfish throughout Canada don't get the respect they deserve, the fun and
for sure.
And they're most places, most water bodies, you can keep a limit of perch or crappie or stocked rainbow trouts, even goldeye in Alberta and Saskatchewan throughout the river systems and Manitoba. They're great. And we're gonna perfectly eat this one.
Shore lunch.
Smash the hook as soon as I feel that tap. As a walleye fisherman, set the hook. Just gonna show how truly thin their mouths are. Like you can see my finger through it. That's how it's really thin. So as a walleye fisherman, you feel the tap and you set the hook, but you'd rip that right out of their mouth. And it's taken me some time to just kind of a nice sweep set. Just really, you're just picking up the weight of the fish, and but we'll let him go and grow up and get a little bigger.
Just let it sit about a foot off of bottom. Yeah. And just hold it there. As the boat moves around, it kind of just cruises around. These are suspended fish, so they'll come and grab it. Yeah. If that's not necessarily working, you can always do a stride, right? So lift your bait up slowly, right? Maybe a 3-foot stride. Stop it at the top, and 9 times out of 10, they'll pick it up at the top of the stride when the bait stops.
Coming up.
They'll follow it up, and then you stop the bait, and they'll pick it up.
Well, being such a slender, narrow fish, there's a good one. Their eyes, good. Like they almost have to feed
There's
up.
A slap.
That is a monster.
So we managed to get one monster.
That is a monster crappie. So, Tony, we've got our limit. Yep. We're gonna have a good fish fry tonight at Brad's mom and dad's.
Yep.
So let's go on to the second segment of multiple species on Lake of the Woods. What are we gonna go for now?
I was thinking try for some northern pike.
Len Thompson's on the northerns in Lake of the Woods.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Conservation Corner brought to you by Hollis Wealth, aligning your financial future so you can spend more time outdoors.
One of the biggest problems I think that the M&R have with the fishing for crappies in the wintertime is the crappies that get let go. They figure that they die and then they float up underneath the ice. So one of the best ways to get the crappie to go back down is you close their mouth, right? By closing their mouth when they're put in the water, a lot of the times they'll just take right off because the cold stuns them when they come out of the ice, right?
Come out into the air, you mean?
Yeah, and if you are going to release them, you want to unhook them as quick as possible, put them down in the water, and close their mouth. You could sit there and try to revive a fish, and they don't want to go anywhere if their mouth is still open from coming up out of the depths, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you close their mouth, you'll notice a huge difference with that fish, the temperament of it. It'll just take right off, and that's a key aspect, when you're, especially fishing for crappies.
That's good to know, because, like, you know, I didn't realize that myself. Another thing that people don't realize ice fishing, you have a fish out of the water, regardless of the species, the cold air, atmospheric air, actually can freeze their eyes, their eyeballs.
That's right.
So, you know, out, if you're releasing the fish, catch and release, out, quick picture and back in.
Yep.
And their eyes are a big importance, because you can freeze their eyes.
Hold your horses, we'll be right back. This segment is brought to you by Wild Guide Magazine.
Just had an amazing day of fishing on Lake of the Woods for a variety of species. But we did keep our limit of crappies. And Tony, you're a pro at this. You put us on the fish. So now we're gonna let you fillet the fish. There's a technique to fillet a crappie. They're great table fare. And over your course of guiding and working with the magazine, owning the magazine, I'm sure you filleted a few of them.
I have, yeah.
So you're gonna give us a demo, are you?
I'll give you a quick rundown, yeah. It's a lot similar to a walleye cleaning, it's just it's a lot more of a flat fillet. So, I mean, if you know how to clean a walleye, you just gotta take your time a little bit more. The skin's soft and the bones are tougher.
Yeah.
So overall, it's the same thing, same bone structure. You just have to be a little more precautious that you don't cut through the skin and so on.
Well, you got a whole big blue box full of them, so I'll get out of your way and let you get to work.
Absolutely. Now, when you're cleaning up your fare at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you get all these scales. These scales are really very large, and when you're rinsing your fillets, you want to thoroughly go over them. Make sure you don't end up with any of those in your table fare. So, with that being said, so you take your fillets off, and the rib cage here, a lot of guys will ride along the bones and take it off. I prefer to flip the fillet over, push the rib cage down flat, and trim it. Because then you just ride the table more or less. So you trim all your bones off, and then in order to make it so that it's completely boneless, there's another rib or another bone structure here. So you just go along that, and then you take the skin off.
So it is very similar to filleting a walleye, and there's one ready for the frying pan.
You got that right. Just give her a rinse and away you go.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'll leave you be to all those.
I might be here a while.
Thanks, Tony.
You're very welcome.
I got the net over here.
This is a big bass. That's a beauty.
Tony, the Lake of the Woods Bassmaster. Oh, I thought I had one there. I just dropped it down to get the net. That's a really nice bass.
It's a beauty.
Way to go, Tony. We're fishing here. This is our fishing Lake of the Woods, multiple species. This is our 5th species today. It's roughly 2 o'clock. We were on the water by 8:30. This is roughly our 5th one, smallmouth bass. Tony, part owner of the Wild Guide magazine's been fishing Lake of the Woods, tournament fishing Lake of the Woods since he was 13. So we got a great guide. He's been guided on it, tournament fished on it, and probably knows it better than anyone in the area. Thanks, Tony. Nice fish.
Thanks, buddy.
Right off that rock, like Tony said. But they do seem to be taking it slower. That was my second cast into the same spot.
Want me to net her for you?
I'll see how you bass fishermen do it. With a tube jig. Wow. Prairie Province anglers, if you want to catch some aggressive fighting smallmouth bass, it's roughly a 17-hour drive from Calgary, 2-hour drive from Winnipeg, and you're on the lake. Crappie, bass, northern pike, great walleye fishing. The muskie, which isn't open right now while we're here, but we raised a 50-inch muskie. Just amazing fishery, Lake of the Woods. Oh, there he was. Coming right up to the point.
Nice one.
They all feel good to me.
Oh yeah, they're scrappy, eh?
Yeah, they are a very, pound for pound, a very strong fish.
Absolutely.
So the tube jig is imitating the crawfish, which we've seen up on the rocks.
That's right.
On the shoals. And that's what we're imitating here with this tube jig. Now that's an average.
That's an average.
Like
yeah.
that's, I'm gonna say, another 2 pounds.
Yeah.
We're all fishermen
Probably
here.
a
By the
little
time I
under.
get home, I'm gonna say 3. But, oh, they are strong. They're such a hard sandpaper mouth.
You know, sometimes you can have those on where they're like 2-pounders. You think for sure you have a 4-pounder on the line, and then you see it and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and they just fascinate me because we don't have the opportunity to fish for these all the time, right? I know they're huge in the States, they're huge here in Ontario, but throughout the prairie provinces, BC even has some good smallmouth and largemouth bass. At home, Alberta, we don't get them.
Yeah.
Hold your horses, we'll be right back. Fish on! Welcome back to Fishing the Wild West.
They're here, Dan. I got the net back here. Yeah. This feels like a much better fish too. Just pulled up on one of the many islands we've gone by. Stopped for a couple walleye, but the funny thing is they're not even showing on the graph. They're just so tight to the bottom, and we're laying our jigs right on the bottom and just slowly lifting it and setting it back down, and they seem to be taking it on the drop. Here we are, first walleye of the day, 7th species of the day, and we're going with the guys from Wild Guide magazine. We're going to go on one of these many islands and have a shore lunch, and this walleye is going to join us. Another one on. They're right on the bottom, and it seems Dan is up front running trolling motor, and it seems, Dan, that they want it vertical, 100% vertical, right on the bottom. Using the Big Sky jigs, and I've said it on many shows, I never fish walleye without the aid of a stinger hook, with the exception of a leech. Again, we're going for the shore lunch, and there's another one that's going to join us. And perfect eating size walleye here on Lake of the Woods. So we're coming to an end of our multiple species trip here in Lake of the Woods. Again, I'm with Tony. He's our guide, cook, filleter. So we're stopping to have a shore lunch. And this is something, Tony, I'm sure you'd agree, a lot of Canadians don't take advantage of this. You don't have to be on a guided fishing trip to stop for a shore lunch.
Absolutely.
You know, it's one of the best, funnest things to do, especially if you got your kids around, and just stop. We just pulled up on one of the many islands here, and obviously someone's been here before to have a shore lunch, left us a table. Got a fire going over here. Tony's gonna show us how he fillets beautiful eater walleye.
Gear Talk, brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Tracker Boats.
So we had an amazing day on the water today on Lake of the Woods fishing, jigging, strictly jigging for walleye. Let's show you what we've been using here. I've been using these Big Sky jigs. They come just before I left for this trip. They're not a sponsor or anything. I'm really impressed with the paint and the quality of the jigs. Like always when I'm jigging walleye, I always tie on a stinger hook, which also made a big difference today in getting those short strike walleye to get them hooked up and in the boat. Simply jigging right off the bottom, jigging anywhere from 15 to 25 feet of water. We use plastic baits, which were worked really well. But the biggest thing is Lake of the Woods, you can use live minnows. And not used to using live minnows. By the time I got them hooked, they were probably dead anyway, but they still hooked the walleye. It's great fishing today. Looking forward to the trip tomorrow here on Lake of the Woods with a variety of species, from smallmouth bass, crappie. We'll probably jig a few more walleye. We're just a few episodes into the new season of Fishing the Wild West TV. We just wrapped up here at Lake of the Woods. We got a lot of great more episodes coming up to you, including trips of a lifetime to northern Saskatchewan for monster lake trout, northern pike, and some great walleye fishing. We're even going to throw in a few Arctic grayling. Then we'll be out on the west coast fishing for salmon, bottomfish, and halibut, and everywhere in between across the western provinces and northern U.S. states. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you throughout the season on Fishing the Wild West TV.
Hours on this fishing boat, no cell phone service and no lawn to mow. What matters most is that I'm all alone, living a dream, fishing the stream, fishing the streams, living a dream, fishing the streams, fishing the Wild West.